Great, perfect. Thanks everyone for your patience and welcome back after lunch. We are running, as you can see, around 15 minutes late, but we will jump right into the next session today. So we have a really packed panel. I won't take too much time, but after this, the sessions do continue. But I would just like to briefly introduce Danuta Begula. She is our moderator today. She will introduce the panelists, but she is a subscription and brand strategist expert. She is an expert in residence currently at the Media Development Investment Fund, but has a whole host of experience, particularly in Poland, at old legacy news outlets to young millennial Gen Z focused outlets. So she has a wealth of experience and is, your reliable shepherd today for this panel. But I'll leave it over to you and enjoy. Nice to have you all.
Thank you, Ryan, for this warm introduction. She's here and she's very happy and honored to be here and especially to run this interesting session. I hopefully it will be very interesting. Like for me, discovering the cases that you will be presented with was a crash course on innovation. And what's important here for me in particular is that we will focus on the top topics most dear to me lately, which are new players in the game, new audiences, new tools, and everything new. So to get this discussion, to get the most out of this discussion and the potential of this topic, we gathered, IPI gathered a couple of really impressive disruptors today. And so I hope that you will find these you will find these examples like really fresh and quirky. There's gonna be a lot of energy, and I hope that we're gonna have some creative buzz. Like each of them will have their 6 minutes to present one big idea that they're developing in their news organizations, that is shaping their approach to either reader revenue or the craftsmanship of a journalist or technology. And then we'll go to the Q&A session. Hopefully we'll have time for that. Like I said, these examples, the cases that they brought are really fascinating and are really diverse. So the first person that is going to present today will be Tarun Nirwan, who is the co-founder and chief digital officer of Suno India, and he's going to tell us more about how they use, like in their newsroom, they use AI to fact check their materials published in their podcast platform. Tarun, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Danuta, to introducing us. And hi, I'm Tarun Nirwan. And we have a small startup from India. We do podcasts on social issues like climate, health, gender, LGBTQ. And recently, we are developing a new tool, Suno AI. So Suno India, basically, it's a podcast platform. We called it new audio news OTT because OTT word is quite famous these days. So, and we do podcast on social issue, like I said, on gender, climate, health, and all other places. And our podcast is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, on all other podcast channels. But we do have also our own app, which you can download from Apple Podcast or Apple iPhone or Android phone if you have. So basically right now, what we are building is Suno. Suno means in Hindi is listen, in English if you call. Because we are in audio industry, we are facing quite a challenge. When we do podcast, it's a quite lengthy process. So first, a journalist or a researchers go to field, or even if they are doing like a one-on-one interview, they record a 1-hour sessions, and then they do transcribe of that entire audio, and then they do fact checking and editing and all these things. So it takes like almost like a 3 to 4 days, and it involves like a 3 to 4 people. But now, with the help of AI, because now these days AI is quite a bit people are using, and it's quite famous. So we want to develop something with that AI, and that's why we're calling it a Suno AI, because we are developing it for audio industry. So how is this? I'm on screen. Yeah, 1 second. Oops.
Can we get some help? Okay. It's
No. Sorry.
The green one you're using?
Yeah. Can you open it? Sorry. So, so what I was telling that, so this tool is going to help like not only us, and we want to collaborate because it's right now it's in a very prototype stage, and we want to collaborate with lots of researchers, journalists, and free media spaces, because to build AI and to, yeah. So it's going to be, we want to be a collaborative approach where we can collaborate with lots of other organizations to build it, and how we are building it and why we are building it. So as I said, like to build a podcast, the entire series, or even an episode, it takes a lots of time. So why we are doing this? Because we want a diverse expert sources where we can do lots of fact checking, and we can do like we can outsource the information from big research organizations or research papers or other media houses, whatever happening. So let me give an example. Like we do podcast on a climate and environment, and climate and environment is very technical topic where you need very current information, what's happening and what's not happening when you do podcast. So we want to outsource all this kind of information and put it in a one place, and then we want to make available for people. And that will help you to the objective analysis. So when you have a 1 hour long podcast episode and you do like transcription, you can do like objective analysis that what is the factual right and wrong. And then the third phase, we also want to do the collaboration with the lots of researchers, journalists, so they can give us the latest information, what's working in the field and what's the right, and what the other researchers are saying. And the major part, we also want to support like journalists and researchers who are very new or they have a very small team. So even here, I was talking to lots of journalists who wants to start their podcast, but they don't have resources. So this tool is going to be one-stop resource where they can do record, edit, and the fact check, and then create a final product. And we also want to do automation. As I said, like this is going to be one-stop tool where you can do all these kind of things. So how we are doing it? So right now we are using like Google speech-to-text API, which is quite popular, and everybody is doing that. There are lots of tools, but we want to integrate where we just put raw audio, and then it will give you the transcription. And then we want to create our Suno AI based on the GPT-4, which is latest version, and we are also trying Bard, but it's in a prototype stage, so we want to see which is better and which will give you or give us the better results. And with the help of fact checkers, climate experts, and journalists, we want to train this AI. So recently, Bloomberg has announced a GPT, Bloomberg GPT, and they are doing for the financial sector. But they have a big resource team, and they have created like a data points of billions of data points, I think 4.5 or 4.6 billion of data points. But with the small team, we want to collaborate with lots of other partners, be it it's a journalist or researcher or independent fact checker, and we want to build it for like an open source where anybody can use it. And once you do that, like with the Suno AI based on OpenAI ChatGPT, you will get the proper transcription in a Word format. And in future, the one thing is obviously we want to give the transcription, but it's going to be properly fact-checked and analyzed by the Suno AI. But we also want to give something like which can suggest title or description, which is very this ChatGPT is already giving. But the idea is to give a one-stop platform where you just upload your audio file, and then it will automatically transcribe the entire audio file, fact-check, and give you auto suggestion of title and description. But the major part is the fact-checking and the analysis process, which we want to build over ChatGPT GPT-4 version. And for that, I would like to associate or would love to take help from anybody who are interested or anybody who wants to collaborate with us. So yeah, and you can reach me on tarun.nirvan@sunoindia.in. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Tarun. Exactly 6 minutes. Thank you for sticking to the time. This was a very precise presentation, and I can see that you're very much into details. And so I will dig into the details about especially the fact-checking part, like what's automated and how do you make sure the fact-checking is accurate. But we'll go to we'll get there after the other speakers. So thank you very much for presenting us your case. And the next person that is going to tell us more about the innovation, but from a helicopter view, is Lela Vujanic. Hello, Lela. Lela is a regional research manager for Central and Eastern Europe at Sembra Media, and is conducting a huge research project that is exploring the landscape, the new landscape of European media that is more and more inhabited by new creatures. And we'll learn more about these new media creatures and try to make sense of it and figure out what it may mean for the future of European media.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Danuta, very much for introduction. I was afraid that I'm going to speak the last after all these innovative stories, but I do have some hidden gems also in Project Oasis. I will just super briefly run through Project Oasis, what is it all about, in case you haven't heard about it yet. But I will basically focus on 3 case studies, on 3 media organizations from different parts of the Europe that are part of Project Oasis. And each of them has its own big ideas, but basically all the media organizations that were included in the research are innovating in different ways, either related to their business strategy, editorial strategy, or the ways they communicate and reach their audiences. But I don't see presentation, maybe like this.
Although we can see it. No?
Oh, sorry. No, nothing is happening. Sorry. Talking about artificial intelligence, but not being able to click through the presentation.
Just stopped myself from saying exactly the same. Yeah, it only shows how dependent we get on these tools. And we'll have a comment on that from Laura after all. Okay, yeah, we got it.
Okay, maybe like this then. So Project Oasis is a year-long research project into innovation, sustainability, and impact of digital native news or media organizations across Europe. The basis for the research were interviews done with media organizations across Europe. They were done in their local languages by a dedicated team of national researchers. Again, nothing is happening.
No, it's happening.
Okay, so we were focused on digital native media, those who were born online and who still produce majority of the content online. We believe that our research findings will be beneficial for other public interest media, but we focus on digital native because we believe they have much more in common when compared to each other than when compared, for example, with legacy media. Many of them were launched by entrepreneurial journalists. And they were launched for different reasons. They were, for example, they were launched as a response to a political situation in their country, as a response to political polarization, to cases of media capture, or they were simply launched to gain greater journalistic independence, to fill news deserts, or to serve and represent previously underserved communities. First example, we are going to my country, Croatia, and a media outlet called Srednja. Srednja in Croatian, Srednja means high school. So their mission was to become voice of the youth on Croatia and to cover education. They are outlier in Croatian media market since they targeted from early on high school pupils and students that were completely underrepresented in Croatian media space. So they are voice of the youth, but they also cover education, and they serve as some sort of service for high school pupils and students to orientate them in educational matters, but they also produce high-profile investigative stories about different irregularities and wrongdoings in educational system in Croatia. Another reason why there are outliers in Croatian market, so it's a small, young and small media market. It's heavily dominated by donor and government funding, and Srednja HR, their bet was on advertising from the start, and they were among the only a few media in Croatia who recently introduced a subscription model, and they introduced 3 subscription levels. Moving now to Denmark, Zetland, who's the media outlet called Zetland, I believe well known for many of you. So their value proposition is actually building or rebuilding trust. And rebuilding trust not only towards media and journalists, but also trust among society members. Zetland is 20,000 members strong. They run one of the most successful membership campaigns ever, where their existing members served as voluntary ambassadors to gain bigger and new membership. Their big idea, they are focusing on slow journalism, in-depth reporting and long-form pieces. So they publish only few stories per day and act, in a way, act against pressure and noise of attention economy, against further polarization of society by providing explanation, by providing context and trying to basically find common ground. Okay, these were the examples of 2 media organizations included in our directory. Of course, we don't have only 2. Actually, we have in Project Oasis media directory 540 media organizations from 44 countries in Europe. We launched our research results last month, but we continue actually to update with this media directory with the new media organizations. Media directory, it's interactive, it's not static as it looks now. You can search these organizations by country, by type of coverage, by revenue models. You can even do comparative search. For example, you can search for all organizations in Spain which are non-profit, which cover environment, and let's say rely on readers' support. So we have launched last month with Media Directory and with Narrative Report. Both can be found on projectoasiseurope.com. In Narrative Report, you have executive summary with key findings, which can you read over a cup of coffee, and a little bit longer full report together with country summaries with key insights, metrics and trends broken down by country. I will let you explore all of this by yourself. And my last example, Fumaça from Portugal. Fumaça means smoke. They have two big ideas there, investigative podcast. First idea is radical transparency. So transparency about their editorial process, about their journalistic process, but also radical financial transparency. So they even succeeded to negotiate with their funders to publish their full grant agreements and contracts online. They even publish their Creative Europe application that can be used by everybody. And the last big idea, which will sound very retro and old-fashioned in this artificial intelligence context, is actually investing in humans involved in media production. So last year, there was an anonymous report that surfaced Portuguese media industry and uncover the salaries in different media organizations. And it turned out that Fumaça pays on average more than others, and they also say that they have decided to pay team decently because they believe it doesn't make sense to investigate precariousness and then not practice what they preach. I will end with this. I definitely invite you to explore media directory, to read the narrative report, and do get in touch with your feedback on our report, and especially if you are a media organization that would like to be part of the directory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lela. There were a couple of incredibly telling insights in this report, and I promise that we'll get back to them in the Q&A part later on, because it's plenty. There's plenty of insights for both new and legacy organizations, I believe. Okay, so now is the time for Rowan. Who's gonna talk about how, it speaks for itself, I guess, the title of this presentation, but I guess it's incredibly interesting to hear about how the use of AI in Arabic countries. So the stage is yours, Rowan.
Thank you very much. And I'm honored to be with colleagues here who are doing all great, innovative, big ideas. Thanks for all the audience who made it this afternoon after lunch as well. I've been leading ARIJ, Arab Reporters for Investigative Journalism, for the last 4 years. Our organization is a training organization that has been working for 15 years in the Arab world, in MENA countries, Middle East and North Africa. So we have only one office in Amman, Jordan, where I was born and I live, but we work in all Arab countries in the region. ARIJ has a triangle where we support the investigative journalists and the fact checkers. And our third triangle, we have opened 2 years ago our first Arabic language pan-Arab whistleblower platform, where whistleblowers can come to us, and then our fact checkers fact check content, and investigative journalists work on this. We have been part of all ICIJ projects, Panama Papers, Paradise Papers, Pandora, and Fenton. And our triangle with our strategy is empowerment, networking, and innovation. So part of our innovation, we started with our AI project.
Yeah.
This thing popped on.
Ryan.
Yep, I think it's worked.
Yep.
And so the question is why? Why we did this? Why? Because Arab media organizations and fact-checking organizations initiatives, we have Arab Fact Checkers Network, that under this umbrella we have 37 different fact-checking organizations and initiatives, and we work with tens of independent publishing platforms in the region. And the majority of them lack the needed AI knowledge. There is no Arabic resources at all. There is no Arabic AI literacy programs in Arabic, and there's no enough tools that support the Arabic language. And this is why we started this. In early 2022, we pitched an idea to Google News Initiative, and they accepted that we start working on our strategy for AI. And that strategy will be in Arabic language, and it's for small to medium newsrooms in the region. So it's not only for us, but it's for all our other colleagues. And this journey started really with first of all, interviews with all Arish team. We are 40 people, 20 full-timers, 20 freelancers, of the challenges and the needs to use AI. Then a large discussion followed by a lab where we chose 10 of the 40 people to go into a 6 months lab with AI experts from Global North. And then we had discussions and surveys with media outlets and fact-checking organization. This strategy will be compiled and launched in our 16th annual forum that will happen in Amman from the 1st until the 3rd of December this year. If you have been ever to our forum or you have not attended this, please consider coming in person. We had 570 people in person last year and 2,500 online. It's a full hybrid translated to English and sign language as well. And the registration will be open June 1st. Our theme this year is cross-border collaboration in a fragmented world, and we will launch our strategy in this forum. But as today I promised to sneak into this strategy and what we really until now would like to say. I am from a generation, and many of the people here in the room, we witnessed the revolution of the internet, the smartphone, and the social media. And many of us decided not to use at the beginning or overuse or not to care about data and privacy at that time. We did mistakes with internet, with smartphone and social media platform that I encourage everybody that we don't repeat our mistakes with the AI. The problem that there is a big gap in AI between North and South. There is an AI divide. We really need to focus on transparency and auditing the algorithms in newsrooms, expose the biases in AI that is based on our own social biases and accumulative big data biases that unfortunately many of you who don't speak Arabic cannot see the hate speech and the dismiss malinformation in Arabic language, and unfortunately many social media platforms, they don't want to see what we are alerting them about. And a serious conversation needs to be on regulation, on policies, ethics, and governance, especially in non-English speaking contexts. A strong stand against the use of AI in the surveillance, in manipulation of election, in propaganda and suppression of information. We as independent media in a region that many of us has been targeted by Israeli spyware companies selling those spywares to authoritarian regimes in the region. Also bots have been also targeting us. Arabic language, which is my mother language, and I'm so proud of it, is a very complex language, is a very rich one. I can understand Arabic language written 3,000 years ago. It's like Latin and English, so the Arabic language is more like Latin and English together, and this makes it more complex with the AI, requires extensive customization and fine-tuning at any model. Some people from my colleagues, speaking English or Spanish, they think that Arabic is not connected to this. But maybe after post-COVID, we can understand that COVID-19 spread, also misinformation spread, and hate speech spread. And also after the migration, we need to understand more that Global South and Global North needs to be resilient together. Mistakes are meant for learning, not repeating. I really wish that we will understand this with AI. If you are interested to communicate more into this, this is my email, rawan@arish.net, and you can follow us at arish.net. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for these clear statements and for shedding some light on the background, the cultural background of the project that you're running. And I think it's very fortunate that the next speaker will also touch upon a bit the linguistic challenges when it comes to AI, fighting hate speech, and using these sophisticated tools in the areas that are extremely where the situation is extremely complex. So over to you, Laura. Maybe I'll just tell that Laura came to us from Myanmar, and she's going to tell us more about a fascinating initiative called Visual Rebellion that she launched with her students. Over to you.
Hi everyone. So I'm Laure, and I am a journalist and a media teacher in Southeast Asia for close to a decade. And I was teaching investigative media to young students in Malaysia, Thailand, but especially Myanmar. And then when military coup happened on 1st February 2021 in Naypyidaw, in Yangon. Journalists, activists, like in many countries, pro-democracy politicians were on the front line of the repression. So journalists were extremely vulnerable. And the people I work with were between 18 and 22 years old. They had maybe 6 months, 1 year of training, and were absolutely unprepared for covering what was coming. We created a platform to continue informing for free the world in Burmese and English about what is happening on Myanmar, which is entirely based on information that are gathered by these young reporters scattered around the country. So the profile is that they are all from rural ethnic areas, where they also speak the local language, which is not Burmese. So we deal with Burmese, but also a dozen of other languages that are necessary to know to get sources and interviews. And at the same time, we are still functioning as an academy because as I said, the people had very few skills and experience and exposure to how to cope with such a situation. So we continue to train them so they can survive this period. In terms of technological tools, we have to use, in the Myanmar context, somebody mentioned it in the panel before, the Myanmar context is that there was no access to nothing, information, electricity, infrastructure for 50 years. Then Myanmar people had 10 years, 2010, 20 of some exposure to the world. But this came in the form mostly of Facebook. So Facebook is everything in Myanmar. It's a built-in app when you buy a smartphone in Myanmar. You open the smartphone and you open internet, and the first thing that's coming in the Facebook app, because it is a partnership between Facebook and the Myanmar phone shops. So Facebook is in there, Meta is in there. It's the gate. Some people in Myanmar still think that Facebook is the internet, no? So we have to be there because everyone is there, and mostly the people who are responsible of the massive propaganda that had terrible consequences for the most vulnerable communities in the country. So we are on Facebook, TikTok, and everything as a counter thing. But Facebook, since the coup, has actually been ironically banned in Myanmar, so people cannot access it without a VPN. And just the only concept of a VPN is not there for most of the population or the access. So we are dealing with the fact that there is a lot happening on a technological and social media channel, but in a country where now people have most of the website banned and where there is 2 hours of electricity per day. So technology is a very far concept to reach these people. So what I want to say is that we still have 70% of our team who is inside Myanmar and who is sending us when they can find connection information of what is happening. So 2 weeks ago there was a massive cyclone on the coast of Bangladesh and Myanmar, and many people inside didn't even know that it was coming, the cyclone, to the village. And now what we know about the cyclone is very partial information. We have some numbers, we have some image, we have some people there who send something, but it's a black hole of information in every aspect. So they managed to send some of the information when they are there, and the place where we cannot go anymore because it's extremely dangerous. At the moment, it's the season of airstrike in Myanmar because the monsoon is not starting yet, so the weather conditions are perfect for aerial attacks. So it's 9 months of weekly airstrike, and people don't know when it's coming. The place where we cannot go anymore because it's far too dangerous to go in person, as a foreign person obviously because you go completely noticed, but also as a local person because it's indiscriminate violence. We teach our team, there is an organization called Myanmar Witness who teach for free to any organization open source geolocalization and chronolocation tools. So the investigation that we cannot do on the ground, we always try to do both. We never publish anything only based on satellite image on Google. We publish something that is both corroborated by evidence of satellite image. The village was there and the village is not there anymore. But also we always have people who come in the village at one point to check and talk to the people and take picture from the ground to be able to compare the picture from the ground and picture from the sky that is the same location. So we do this from Thailand, where most of the Myanmar journalists are in exile. It's close to 1,000 journalists in Myanmar, from Myanmar who are in Thailand, and they are in maybe half of them are still in a situation where there is no legal documents because Thailand has a similar military authoritarian regime where it's a bit softer than Myanmar, but it's not really there. So we have to operate all in secrecy on every level, be it in Myanmar or in Thailand. And the big idea, so we do this in to be an archive, to be a documentation of what happened. We do a bridge taking the best, the most relevant content of Burmese local media. My colleagues do an amazing job, but they write in Burmese, which is a language which was even not included in any laptop. So you cannot type Burmese. It's a Burmese person alone who had to create the whole alphabet so that you can actually type it on a phone. So the thing doesn't exist. We're not talking even about ChatGPT. There is no Google Translate. There is nothing. You cannot write the thing properly. So they are writing in a language that has been ignored by the big companies. And my colleague also said when the genocide against Rohingya people happened, which was very, very facilitated by Facebook, there was one Burmese person who speaks the language in the Facebook team with hundreds of thousands of... So it's a language that is ignored and not monitored of what's happening there. So we are trying to get the best of what's happening in the Burmese media landscape to translate into the language that the world reads now, English, French, Spanish, but also Thai, Chinese, because we operate in this region. So we have partnership with this media. And so this is important to keep telling the world of what's happening, of course, but this will not help people right now. Now it's 50 million people inside Myanmar who are in a black hole. And it has become a lawless country where the economic, political, social structure has collapsed. So this means that people are extremely vulnerable to, there was an explosion of trafficking, scamming, cryptocurrency scam. So Myanmar has become a black hole for crypto scam. So many people around Asia get kidnapped, put in a van and sent in the jungle of Myanmar to scam people by phone. And we are talking hundreds of thousands of people, and we are talking billions of dollars per day that are made by a Chinese company in the jungle of Myanmar with all these people. So, of course, the first victims of this are young Burmese people who have been trafficked for everything. There was an existing huge trafficking at the borders for people, drugs, weapons. So this is the usual in Myanmar. And then we got this massive crypto scam thing and casino gambling, online gambling on top of everything. And the first were the Burmese to get kidnapped, and then the people around, Thailand, Laotian, Cambodian, Filipino, Indonesian. And then as nobody was stopping this because there is no authority anymore, it crept out into African community, Western community. So we have testimonies of there is a dozen of thousand of people from Africa who are inside this camp in Myanmar, but also from Brazil, from the West. So my point is, I will finish on this. We want to investigate this for months, for years. But these findings, we are not talking just about Myanmar. I understand that it's a faraway country with a difficult language, but actually what is happening there has consequences for millions of people around the world. So from the Western people who get scammed millions of dollars to the people in Africa and Asia who get sent there to work. There is no point right now. I will publish this 3-4 page investigative for all of us to read, but right now we have to reach the young people who are all on TikTok, and this is the reality in Asia. This is the migrant workers. Everyone looks at 2 minutes TikTok video. This is the only time and energy they have, no, and access. And it's like we want to turn these findings. We have the address, we have the names of people, we know what's happening. To turn these findings in 2 minutes video and distribute in a many language of the world in partnership with educational institutions to simply awareness that people stop answering terrible fake job scam that will send them there. So this is a bit of what we talk everyone, cross-investigation, and but also reaching actually people, the first people who are affected by what's happening, not only us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have the opportunity to ask you some more questions in the Q&A session. And actually, there are many links between what you were telling us about and about what you do, Laban. This is our final, our final speaker. That is also who is in charge of the newsroom of Narasi. That is a really powerful small media organization that is successfully entering the visual, investigative visual journalism era. So tell us more and show us more, right?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think this is just an idea, not a big or small, because big or small is just like only a perspective. And it was a disclaimer. And for the language barrier, I have taken a note because I have to feel it because of the language barrier. And if I cannot answer your question, that means you have to ask ChatGPT. I think I wrote that. Thank you. For a very short time, I tried to answer and explain what we are, who we are. I mean, what we do and what we'll do, and in the era of artificial intelligence disruption, and where the benefit come from to survive in the media industry. Narasi as independent media formed in 2018 because of our disappointment with the silencing of corruption issues in the government by the media we worked before. While our newsroom was only, established in the middle of 2019, and this idea was presented by 3 of our Narasi founders, and all women. And We have our content pillars. Yes, we have our 4 content pillars. The first one, environment, anti-corruption, women empowerment, and tolerance. Now, Narasi Newsroom consists of 35 journalists, from editor-in-chief, producer to reporters. And that number does not include our colleagues from other division in charge of of business development and activity team. We focus on audiovisual journalistic works that we intentionally publish through social media platform, and we do have website, but currently it's only for showcasing to our clients. Why do we do that? Because our target is young people in Indonesia who currently have a habit of relying on social media to get the information. As you can see on the screen, our target audiences is 17 to 35 years old, and we divided our audience archetype as the mindful and the nowness. And the nowness we categorize the same as the FOMO generation. Our biggest audience comes from the biggest city in Indonesia, like Jakarta especially, but it's pretty evenly distributed from the western part of Indonesia to the eastern part of Indonesia, which means Papua, Maluku, and Sulawesi. I think that one is Papua. Yeah. Because our newsroom team can be categorized as small to medium, and we only focus on explainer journalism and in-depth reporting, and that only answer the 2 questions: how and why. It's certain that it's because that we will lose speed to the most media in Indonesia that rely on speed. Like I can say detik.com. It means every second you have information from that website, and or we can lose the speed of information from social media. And one of our advantage is the use of open source intelligent or OSINT method in various in-depth or investigation reporting that we works. This method is still rarely used in Indonesian newsroom, especially for audiovisual journalistic works. That's our advantage actually. And the most impact is when we combine, when we work the journalistic work with the combination within OSINT method and the crowdsource in our story. And I'd like you to roll the video. Just focus. This is in Bahasa Indonesia. Just focus on the subtitles so you can understand what's the meaning of this combination. Thank you. Please roll.
Kanjuruhan menjelma tempat mematikan, ratusan nyawa melayang akibat penggunaan kekuatan berlebih. Tribun selatan Stadion Kanjuruhan menjadi sasaran tembak paling brutal. Nyaris setiap tembakan gas air mata ke sisi ini mengarah langsung kepada para penonton yang tidak terlibat kericuhan di lapangan. Kami menemukan setidaknya ada lebih dari 80 proyektil gas air mata yang ditembakkan pada malam itu. Bagaimana luapan kekecewaan di akhir pertandingan berubah menjadi mengerikan? Investigasi visual ini memanfaatkan sumber-sumber yang bisa diakses secara terbuka. Kami mengumpulkan, memilah, dan menganalisis ratusan video dan foto yang beredar di beragam media sosial. Kami juga melakukan crowdsource atau menerima sumber berupa video dan foto dari ratusan saksi mata yang hadir di Kanjuruhan. Melalui crowdsource ini, informasi geolokasi dan timestamp kejadian bisa disusun dengan lebih presisi. Karena sumber yang diperoleh dari crowdsource umumnya diambil oleh tangan pertama dalam bentuk materi mentah, sehingga metadatanya bisa diketahui. Dengan itulah, kabut kerutan peristiwa Kanjuruhan bisa lebih tersingkap.
So that is the program. Buka mata is in English it means open eyes. So this is our investigative program in narasi. So this video is the context of the video is the football disaster at Kanjuruhan Stadium in East Java. It was Asia's deadliest and darkest sporting event in history, and the tragedy also causing a loss of 135 lives caused by the tear gas deployed by the police. But as you may know, the police blaming the wind as the perpetrator. We analyzed thousands of video from public sources and the eyewitnesses. We asked the audience to send us the video or picture with the certain format so we can see the metadata and the geolocation for validation. But not only on major events, we also even use this method in the event of the death of a student in remote area in West Java. The student died because she hit by the police vehicle, and which they did not recognize at all. And the other story is we detect Indonesian military headquarters in remote areas in Papua. This is the conflict area that are suspended to be connected with certain projects, the government project, and could cause tension with the local citizens. So, what about AI? Do we utilize that? Since we are not tech company, yes, we admit we can only utilize that for our story. But now we are just use it for the content journey. It means we do not use it for the main story because it's very vulnerable, I think, and we only use it for promoting the story into social media so that the audience, the young audience that we targeting, can watch the whole story through our website or the YouTube. The idea is, this is not a big idea. The idea that I want to highlight is the combination between the crowdsource to engage with the audience, with the people, also to complete the investigation, and the AI to promote the story. That's the idea that I want to highlight. And for the last one.
Yeah.
And as we are a profit media, we are where are our benefit come from? For now, we are not depending on subscription. The reason is even some of Indonesian media trying to create subscription for the information they deliver, but I have to admit, or at least in my humble opinion, the Indonesian audience does not fit with this kind of things. I don't know why, but this is the nature of Indonesian audience. But maybe some of Indonesian media can share if they are in this room. So what we do is pushing to create the public trust through the in-depth and explainer content, to boosting the audience growth, and makes private brand or maybe government, it's not always, to communicate with audience through the narasi, our media, with the yeah, with the advertisement or campaign program. But once again, they cannot, and we create a lot of barriers, so they don't interrupt our editorial. The point is the symbiosis between content and business. And as you may know, the nature of young people is a party, right? 17 to 35. So we also create some music concert event combined with TED Talk within the 2 days. Like this one, Pasar Malam is Night Market. This is a music concert that we combine with the TED Talks. Jadi, sorry, it's Indonesian. From day to noon, we deliver the TED Talk, and from noon to late at night, we do music concert with brand sponsor. We also selling the ticket with this kind of activity, our newsroom can survive. I think that's.
Thank you very much. Like we don't have that much time, but I'll try to find something, a common key takeaway for myself, and maybe we can discuss the implications of what I noticed. Like I think that the overarching topic here was what will be the craftsmanship of a journalist, of an editor in future. Like we already are observing trends that are, happening and coming and going out like very fast. Like I think all the discussions during this conference are kind of proving that this hype cycle about AI is different than the previous ones. And we were all discussing new tools in the newsroom, maybe new skills, even like as you mentioned at the end, like some new skills like entertaining the audience, right? Like taking care of them, or engaging people in crowdsourcing. All these things are, for some media veterans, may be a bit challenging and, challenging and can look from the outside as something that is not focused on the core of our journalistic mission, which is fighting for a more pluralistic media landscape. But so I would like to, ask you about that. Do you see any? How do you imagine the media companies will change or have to change, and what's coming to media companies with this new group of Gen Z new journalists that, for example, Laura is training, or Rowan is training, you are training, and like we didn't have time before to discuss what the conclusions coming from your report, so maybe each of you can add something to that.
Okay. Yeah, we have many conclusions, insights, and trends. We did not focus in this research specifically on artificial intelligence, though, of course, we have many organizations in the directory. For example, Zetland used AI to produce good tape transcription service for journalists and others. But as I say, we didn't focus specifically on this. We were more focusing on general sustainability. What we have found, there are many things, maybe just to emphasize gender, and I want to follow up actually one of the previous panels here that was called Journalism in Democracies in Crisis, something like that. And there was like 5 women participants, and one of them was really happy they gathered together, that it's all women panel, but she said that it could give a wrong impression, like the industry is dominated and managed by women, which is not the case. So I don't want to contradict her. I know where she's coming from, but actually our research concerning this specific subsector of digital native media, we have different results. So among these 540 organizations, more than 58% of their founders are actually women. And women as founders tend also to be more collaborative and to build more diverse teams. Of course, further research would be needed to explain all of this. My guess is that simply that this was also one of the reasons that this is the only way to amplify actually women voices and women perspective. We have also, concerning founders related to gender, we have also found that those who are diverse in terms of gender tend to earn, actually to have a bigger revenue. So I think these are all important conclusions for diversity in the industry. And since I know we don't have time, I will leave other trends for your own reading and pass it to the colleague.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have like 30 seconds each before we finish. I would say that my advice for editors and journalists nowadays is not to focus on the tools, but on the methodology. Let's not be absorbed with the new tools. Tools will change in a few years. Maybe in the past we had 4 or 5 years for each tool. Now we'll have 1-2 years for each tool. So don't focus on the tool. Focus on the methodology of why we are using this and how we are using this, just to focus our time on the important things.
Tarun?
So for me, I have seen like lots of presentation here also where they were saying that now the journalists are become investigators because there are lots of fake news is also there. AI is also there. It's not going anywhere. So for me, I think all the journalists or journalist organization, they need to adapt as soon as possible. And the only way to adapt and to work together where we build collaborative projects. And we come together to build something. Maybe some organization have a technical expertise, some doesn't, and some are small, some are big. So once we do collaborative effort, I think we can take on this challenge easily, and we can use the AI for our benefits.
Laura?
Yeah, I agree with you that it's there, but it will not change fundamentally what we want to say as journalists, and it still has to be control of how much the donors, how much AI has an impact on our work. So we should use it for what it is, to gather and process a huge amount of data. Or to look at places where we cannot go in person. But as I said, I don't think that anything will replace an interview face-to-face or really going to the place where the thing happens. So it has to be a combination of real-life reporting and investigation with satellite image or anything. I joke with my student. Of course, they are all on ChatGPT and TikTok. I'm so old already, so they teach me all this thing. I said, okay, please tell me what's happening. And I told them, once I understood what ChatGPT is, I told them, I forbid you to use this to write your articles, but I allow you to use it for the editing, because myself not being a native English speaker, and it's like you have to write in English, otherwise nobody read what you write, no? So, and you have to write it in proper English so people take it seriously. And we have at the same time in this flow of news where it has to come quick. So he said, okay, you can edit your thing with ChatGPT, but you're gonna write it by yourself after you have going there. So we have to put limits, and it's education also, no? We talk about all of this, but we have to teach, I think, the next generation how to put boundaries on this. Yeah.
Okay, just the last word from me. Adaptation is a must, and AI just is only bullet, and we are the gun. And it can be good in our hand, in journalists and media trusted hand, but it can be bad if the gun is from the buzzers. You know what I mean, the buzzers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That makes for a great closure of this discussion. I hope you at least got, it made for a good teaser for the discussions in the break. So I strongly encourage you to ask the questions that you have popped up in your heads to our speakers in the break. Thank you for participating in this discussion. Thank you.